The night was quiet but not peaceful. The forest lay under a heavy blanket of darkness, the kind that swallowed sound and made every shadow feel alive. The wind moved through the trees in sharp whispers, bending the branches as if they were warning signs. The ground was wet from earlier rain, and every step pressed soft mud and broken leaves into the earth. A man walked alone on the narrow path. He carried nothing special, just a small backpack, a flashlight, and the weight of his long day. He was used to silence, used to loneliness, but tonight felt different. Tonight the silence carried something hidden inside it, something waiting. He slowed his steps. His ears caught a sound that didn't belong. At first it was faint, like someone breathing, like someone crying. He froze and turned his flashlight toward the trees. The light cut through the dark, showing only more forest, more emptiness. But the sound came again, soft, broken, almost like a whisper. "Help!" The man's heart jumped. He wasn't sure if he imagined it. He moved forward carefully, pushing branches aside, following the sound. His flashlight shook in his hand, not from weakness, but from the growing sense that something strange was near. Then he saw them. Two figures crouched low in the shadows, almost hidden by tall grass. At first he thought they were children, small, fragile, afraid. But as the light touched their faces, his breath caught in his throat. Their skin was pale, but glowing faintly, like the soft shine of the moon on water. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, reflecting the beam of the flashlight with an unnatural shimmer. They were not human. The girls clung to each other, trembling. One of them made a small broken sound, a sob or a whisper. They looked at the man as if expecting him to strike, to run, or to scream. But he did none of those. He stood still, heart racing, trying to understand what he was seeing. Before he could speak, the forest answered for him. A deep roar cut through the night. It was no ordinary animal sound. It was guttural, savage, heavy with hunger. The trees shook as something large moved quickly between them. The two alien girls whimpered, pressing tighter against each other. Their wide eyes told him the truth. Whatever hunted them was close. The man's instincts screamed at him to run. He could turn back, escape, leave this nightmare behind. But his legs didn't move. His eyes locked on the two trembling figures, and something inside him decided. They were scared. They were alone. And they needed help. Another roar thundered, closer this time. The ground shook under heavy steps. Branches snapped like bones breaking. The man gripped his flashlight tighter, scanning the trees, searching for movement. His breath came sharp and fast, but his mind was steady. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice was low but firm. He didn't know if the girls understood his words, but they seemed to understand the meaning. They crouched lower, holding on to each other, eyes never leaving him. The darkness moved. A shadow broke free from the trees. The creature stepped into view. It was massive, taller than any man, its body twisted and covered in dark scales that shimmered wet in the light. Its mouth opened wide, lined with jagged teeth that glistened with saliva. Its eyes glowed a burning yellow, locking directly on the girls. The man lifted his flashlight, the beam striking the beast's eyes. It hissed and snapped its head back, but only for a second. Then it roared louder, so powerful the leaves around them shook loose and fell like rain. The alien girls cried out, fear pouring from them. The man's heart pounded like a drum. He had no weapon, no gun, nothing but a weak flashlight and the stubborn courage growing in his chest. He stepped forward, placing himself fully between the monster and the girls. The beast lowered itself, preparing to charge. The man didn't run. His grip tightened on the flashlight as if it was a sword. He knew he was only human, fragile, small, nothing compared to the nightmare in front of him. But he also knew something else. He could not leave them. The silence of the forest was broken now by heavy breathing, by the growls of the beast, by the desperate hearts of two alien children. Time slowed. Every second stretched long, every sound sharper than the last. The man took one deep breath. His eyes narrowed. His body leaned forward. He was ready. And then, The beast leapt. The beast leapt forward, tearing through the air like a falling rock. Its jaws spread wide, teeth sharp enough to split bone. The man had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his will. Yet in that moment, fear did not control him. Action did. He dived sideways, dragging a broken tree branch from the ground as he rolled. The beast's heavy body smashed into the spot where he had been standing. The ground shook under the impact, dirt spraying into the air. The alien girls screamed, clutching each other, but their eyes stayed fixed on the man. The beast rose again, furious, yellow eyes glowing like fire. Its roar shook the forest. Birds burst from the trees, fleeing into the night. The man stood, gripping the branch with both hands. It was rough, weak, not made for battle. But it was all he had. "Come on then," he muttered, voice steady even as his heart raced. The beast lunged again, claws slicing through the air. The man swung the branch with all his strength. The wood cracked against the monster's snout. The sound echoed sharp like thunder. The creature roared in pain, jerking back, stunned for just a moment. That moment was enough. "Run!" The man shouted at the girls, motioning toward a cluster of trees. The two alien sisters hesitated, fear locking them in place. But when they saw him standing between them and the beast, they moved. They scrambled into the shadows, their glowing skin flickering like fading lights in the dark. The beast turned its eyes on them. Its rage was not at the man. It was at the girls. They were the prey it wanted. But the man blocked its path, swinging the branch again, striking its shoulder. The beast snarled, swiping its claw at him. The strike caught the edge of his arm, ripping fabric and drawing blood. He stumbled but did not fall. His eyes burned with something stronger than pain. He refused to move aside. The monster advanced. The man backed toward a slope in the ground. His mind worked quickly. He could not defeat it with strength, but maybe with wit. He let the beast come closer, closer, until its heavy steps made the earth shake. Then he moved. He darted sideways, leading the beast toward the slope. It followed, roaring with rage, blind to anything but its hunger. The man reached the edge and stopped suddenly. The beast charged without thought. At the last moment, the man jumped aside. The beast's momentum carried it forward. Its massive body slipped on the wet ground. With a crashing roar, it tumbled down the slope, smashing into rocks and trees. The earth shook as it rolled, before landing with a thud at the bottom, hidden by shadows. Silence. The man stood at the top of the slope, chest heaving, sweat and blood mixing on his skin. His arm ached from the cut, but he stayed standing, eyes fixed on the dark below. No movement came. No sound. Was it dead? Or waiting? He did not know. But he did know one thing. The girls were safe, for now. He turned and ran back to where they hid. The two alien sisters crouched behind a fallen log, their small bodies trembling. When they saw him return, their eyes widened in shock. He was injured, tired, and covered in dirt, but alive. More than that, he had stood against the beast for them. The older girl whispered something in a language he could not understand. The younger one reached out, her small hand brushing against his injured arm as if to say thank you. The man gave a weak smile. "It's gone," he said softly, pointing toward the slope. "You're safe." The girls did not know the words, but they understood the tone. Their glowing eyes softened. The fear did not vanish, but it changed. For the first time, they felt a thread of safety, woven not by strength, but by his choice. The forest, however, did not rest. The night remained heavy. Every sound still carried danger. The man knew the beast might return. He also knew other threats could be near. He helped the girls stand. They were light, fragile, almost weightless. Their glowing skin pulsed faintly, as if their strength was fading. He wondered how long they had been lost, how long they had been running. They walked slowly through the trees. The man stayed alert, listening for every crack of a branch, every whisper of wind. The girls stayed close behind him, trusting him now more than fear itself. As they reached a clearing, the man looked up at the sky. Stars stretched endless above, brighter than usual, sharper, as if the universe itself was watching. The younger girl tugged at his sleeve. She pointed upward with her glowing finger. Her eyes shone with longing. He followed her gaze. And then he understood. They were not from here. Their home was out there, beyond the stars. But before he could speak, the ground shook again. A low hum filled the air, not the roar of a beast, but something deeper, mechanical. The man froze. The girls froze. Above the treetops, a blinding light appeared. Something else had arrived. The light in the sky grew brighter, flooding the forest clearing with silver and gold. The man shielded his eyes, blinking hard as the strange glow washed over the trees. It was not fire. It was not lightning. It was something greater, something alive with power. The alien girls clung to him, their glowing hands gripping his arm tightly. Their small bodies shook with fear, but their eyes were fixed on the sky. The light reflected in their faces, turning their glow into something softer, almost hopeful. A shape moved above the treetops. A dark outline hovered against the sea of stars. The low hum filled the air again, steady and deep like the beating heart of a giant machine. The man's breath caught. Was it another beast? A new danger? Or was it theirs? The ship drifted lower, but then, suddenly, it pulled away, vanishing beyond the clouds as if it had never been there. The light faded, the forest sinking back into shadow. The man lowered, his arm slowly. The girls exhaled together as if they had been holding their breath the whole time. He looked at them, and for the first time he saw not just fear in their faces. He saw sadness, a deep, endless sadness that children should never carry. They were searching. They were lost. And that ship had not seen them. The man knelt down so. His eyes met theirs. His voice was quiet, gentle. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "I'll help you." The older girl tilted her head, trying to read his meaning. She did not know his words, but she understood his tone. The younger one reached out and touched his chest with her glowing hand, right over his heartbeat. Her eyes softened. She could feel the steady rhythm inside him, warm, alive, human. For the first time they trusted him. They moved deeper into the forest, away from the slope where the beast had fallen. The night was still heavy with danger, but the air around them began to change. The girls stayed close, their glowing skin faint but constant like two small lanterns guiding him through the dark. The man found a small cave at the base of a hill, hidden by thick bushes. It was dry inside, with smooth stone walls that held the warmth of the day. It was not safe forever, but safe enough for now. He cleared a space, laying down branches and leaves for the girls to rest. He pulled out a small packet of food from his bag, bread, a few pieces of dried meat. Nothing special, nothing large, but it was all he had. The girls watched curiously as he placed the food before them. They sniffed it, hesitated, then tasted, small bites. Their eyes widened. They ate slowly, sharing each piece with care. The man smiled faintly. "Good, right?" he asked. The girls didn't understand, but the younger one gave a small laugh. It was soft, weak, but real. For the first time that night, the cave did not feel so heavy. As they ate, the man studied them more closely. Their skin glowed faintly with veins of light running under the surface. Their hair shimmered like strands of silver, catching every flicker of firelight. Their eyes were too big for their faces, but full of emotion, fear, sadness, and now, a spark of hope. They looked fragile, weaker than human children, but there was something inside them, something powerful, waiting to be understood. When the food was gone, the girls curled up together against the wall of the cave. The younger one yawned, her glow dimming as she drifted toward sleep. The older one stayed awake, watching the man. He sat near the entrance, scanning the forest with sharp eyes. Every crack of a branch made his body tense. He knew the beast might return. He knew the ship in the sky might not be friendly. But he also knew something else. These girls needed him. The older sister finally spoke, her voice soft and musical. The words were strange, flowing, full of sounds he could not copy. She placed her hand on her chest, then pointed to her sister. A name, Then, she pointed to herself, repeating another name. The man nodded slowly, repeating the sounds, clumsy but honest. The girl's eyes softened. Then she pointed at him, waiting. He touched his chest. "John," he said simply. The girl tried to repeat it. "Ju-nan." Her voice wavered, but the effort brought a small smile to his tired face. For the first time, they were not strangers. The night deepened. Outside, the forest shifted and sighed, alive with distant sounds. Inside, the cave held a fragile peace. The girls leaned against each other, their eyes drifting closed. Their glow dimmed further, fading into soft pulses like the last embers of a fire. John stayed awake, watching over them. His arm throbbed from the beast's claw, but he ignored it. His mind was not on the pain. His mind was on the stars. He thought of the ship. He thought of the roar of the beast. He thought of the two glowing children who now depended on him. He was just one man, one fragile human, but he had chosen to stand. And now, in this dark cave, he felt the weight of that choice. Far away, in the silent sky above, unseen eyes were already searching. Something, or someone, was coming. The night stretched long, but John did not sleep. He sat at the mouth of the cave, his back against the cold stone, eyes fixed on the forest. His body ached from the cut on his arm, but the pain was distant, pushed aside by something stronger: responsibility. Behind him, the alien girls slept close together, their soft glow like dim stars in the dark. Every sound made him alert. Every rustle in the trees kept his hand tight on the broken branch he still carried. He knew the beast could return. He knew the ship he had seen might come back. But he stayed. He had chosen to protect them no matter what. Then, just before dawn, the silence broke. It began with a hum, deep and powerful. The ground trembled slightly, stones shaking loose from the cave walls. A light spread across the trees, not sunlight, but something stronger, sharper, alive. John stood at once, moving to shield the girls. The glow grew brighter until the forest outside looked like day. A shadow passed over the cave, enormous, covering the trees in darkness. The girls woke with startled cries. Their eyes widened when they saw the light. Their glowing skin flared, brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. John turned to them quickly. "Stay here," he whispered. He didn't know if they understood, but they nodded anyway, fear and hope mixing in their faces. He stepped out of the cave. The clearing outside was no longer empty. Above him, filling the sky, hovered a colossal ship. Its surface shimmered with flowing light, like liquid metal alive with color. It was silent now, its hum fading as it hung perfectly still. Around its edges, strange symbols glowed, writing that seemed to move like living fire. John had never seen anything so vast, so alien, so beautiful. A beam of light shot down from the ship, striking the clearing. The air crackled, heavy with power. And then, something stepped out. She was taller than any human, her figure strong, wrapped in silver armor that reflected the morning light. Her skin glowed faintly like her daughter's, but brighter, more commanding. Her hair shimmered like strands of fire flowing down her back. Her eyes, large and bright, locked on John instantly. Behind her, the air shifted. Shapes formed, alien guards, armored and armed, their bodies sharp with strange weapons. They stood in silence, waiting for her command. John's grip on the branch tightened. He knew he could not fight them. He could not even run. But he did not move aside. He stood tall, dirt and blood covering him, blocking the path to the cave. Alien woman stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. For a long moment the forest was silent, holding its breath. Then, from behind him, the girls ran out. They cried out in their language, voices filled with joy and relief. They rushed past John and threw themselves into the woman's arms. She caught them both, pulling them close, her strong figure trembling for the first time. Her glowing eyes softened, her face filled with emotion. John lowered his branch slowly. He realized the truth. This was their mother. The reunion was brief. After holding her daughters, The woman lifted her gaze back to John. Her expression changed. It was sharp now, questioning, almost dangerous. The guards raised their weapons, stepping forward. John didn't move. He lifted his hand slightly, showing he was no threat. His heart beat hard in his chest, but his eyes stayed steady. The older girl pulled at her mother's arm, speaking quickly, urgently. She pointed at John, then at the forest, miming the beast. She showed how he had fought, how he had saved them. The younger one nodded, her glowing hands clutching his torn sleeve as if begging their mother to see. The alien woman listened. Her glowing eyes flickered as she looked back at John. Her daughter's words carried weight. Their small hands pointed again and again at him, their voices desperate with truth. Slowly, the woman raised her hand. The guards froze, lowering their weapons. The air eased, though the tension remained thick. She stepped closer to John, her towering presence overwhelming. He looked up, meeting her gaze without fear. For a long, endless moment, they stood in silence. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, she placed her hand on her chest. It was not a gesture of threat. It was a gesture of respect. The girls smiled, relief glowing in their faces. John exhaled, his body finally loosening. He lowered his arms, his branch falling to the ground. The woman spoke then, her voice strong, deep, carrying strange tones that vibrated in the air. John could not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Gratitude, recognition, respect. She turned to her guards and gave a single command. At once they stepped back, forming a circle around the clearing. The danger was gone. The mother's eyes returned to John. She studied him carefully as if weighing the truth of what he was. Finally, she lifted her hand, pointing upward at the massive ship that hung above them. Her meaning was clear. She was inviting him. John's breath caught. He had fought a beast. He had protected 2 children not of this world. And now their mother, powerful, commanding, alien, was offering him something beyond imagination. Behind him, the girls tugged at his arms, their glowing eyes wide with excitement. They wanted him to come. They wanted him with them. The forest around them was silent again, but inside John a storm raged. He was only human. He was small, fragile. Nothing compared to what stood before him. And yet, he had earned their trust. He looked up at the ship, its vast body shimmering above. His heart pounded with the question that now burned inside him. What waited for him there? The ship above the forest was silent, but its presence was overwhelming. It floated like a giant in the sky, its lights flowing like rivers of fire across its surface. The air around it buzzed faintly, thick with strange energy. John stood at the edge of the clearing, the alien mother before him, her daughters at her side. She had invited him with a single gesture pointing toward the ship. The girls tugged at his arms again, their glowing eyes pleading with him to follow. They were safe now, but they wanted him to come too. They wanted him to see. John's heart pounded. He had never left his own world, never dreamed of walking inside something not of Earth. He had only wanted to help 2 children who were lost and afraid. And yet here he stood, on the edge of something far greater than he could ever imagine. He nodded. The mother's glowing eyes softened. She raised her hand again, and a beam of light descended from the ship, striking the clearing. The air shimmered, bending like water. John felt his body lift. His feet left the ground, weight fading away. The girls laughed softly, holding on to him as the light carried them upward. The forest grew smaller below, the cave, the trees, the slope where the beast had fallen, all slipping away as they rose toward the vast ship above. The beam carried them inside. The moment John's feet touched the ship's floor, he froze. The interior was not metal like human machines. It was alive. The walls glowed with flowing veins of light, pulsing like a heartbeat. The floor shifted beneath his steps, firm yet soft, like smooth stone warmed by the sun. Strange symbols, floated in the air, drifting like smoke, vanishing and reappearing. The guards surrounded them, silent, disciplined, but it was the mother who commanded the space. She led them down a wide corridor, her daughters holding John's hands as if he was part of their family now. They reached a vast chamber at the heart of the ship, its ceiling arched high, filled with stars that did not belong to the sky outside. The walls opened into windows that showed galaxies burning, worlds spinning, endless space stretching forever. John's breath caught. He had never seen beauty so large, so impossible. The mother turned to him. She spoke, her deep voice flowing like music, but he could not understand. The older girl stepped forward, her glowing hands reaching out. She touched John's forehead. In that instant, something changed. Her touch carried not just warmth, but meaning. Images burst in his mind, flashes of her language, her memories, her emotions. He gasped, stumbling, but the girl held him steady. Her voice whispered inside his mind. Simple words, broken but clear. "She thanks you." John blinked. He stared at the mother. The girl's voice continued, a bridge between them. She says, "You gave us safety. You fought when you had nothing. You stood, though you are fragile." She says, "You are not only human, you are strong." The mother stepped closer. Her glowing eyes locked on him. She raised her hands, palms open, and the ship responded. The chamber filled with light. John staggered as visions poured into him. He saw stars being born, blazing suns and dying worlds. He saw machines that could shape matter, energy that could bend time. He saw knowledge beyond human reach, secrets that could change his entire species forever. It was overwhelming. He fell to his knees, gasping. The light dimmed slightly, allowing him to breathe. The girl's voice spoke again in his mind. "She offers you a gift, knowledge, power, reward beyond what your kind dreams." John's eyes widened. His heart raced. With this, he could become more than he had ever imagined. He could change the course of humanity. He could make Earth strong, unstoppable. But then he looked at the girls. Their glowing faces were full of trust, not expectation. They had not loved him because of reward. They had loved him because he had chosen to help without asking for anything. He remembered the forest, the beast, the moment he had stood between them and danger. He had not done it for power. He had done it because it was right. He lifted his eyes back to the mother. His voice was rough but steady. "I don't need reward," he said. "I only need to know they are safe." The girl translated. For a moment, the mother said nothing. Her glowing eyes flickered. Then, slowly, she knelt before him. This towering, alien being, this mother of power and fire, lowered herself to the fragile human who had saved her children. Her voice carried softly now, almost like a song. She says, "You are rare. Among all stars, few would choose as you chose." The chamber shifted again. The mother reached forward and placed something in his hands. It was small, simple, a crystal glowing faintly with inner light. The girl whispered in his mind, "A key, not to power, to knowledge. When your kind is ready, it will open." John stared at the crystal. It was not wealth, not weapons, not treasure. It was something greater, a seed for the future. He closed his hands around it. His heart was steady. He understood. The mother rose, her daughters still holding his arms. They looked at him with smiles now, free of fear. John exhaled. He was only human, fragile and small. But tonight, he had stood against the dark. And because of that, he had been given something beyond imagination. Not reward, not power, respect. The crystal glowed faintly in John's palm, its light pulsing like a living heart. He stared at it, still trying to understand the weight of what had just happened. He had not asked for it, had not wanted reward, and yet it had been given to him. The alien mother's gaze stayed on him, sharp and deep, as if she could see into his very soul. Her daughters clung to her side now, safe at last, their glowing faces soft with peace. They whispered to each other in their language, but their eyes kept drifting back to John, watchful, grateful, unwilling to let him go. John closed his fingers around the crystal. It was small, fragile, almost ordinary in his rough hands, and yet he knew it was not ordinary at all. He could feel its power humming faintly, not like a weapon, but like knowledge waiting to awaken. The chamber was silent. The guard stood still. The ship's walls pulsed with quiet light, and beyond the great window stretched an endless ocean of stars. Finally, the mother spoke again. Her voice was calm, but carried a weight that filled the chamber. The older girl touched John's arm, bridging her mother's words into his mind. She says, "This is not just a gift, it is a promise. When your people are ready, the crystal will show the way. But if they are not ready, it will remain silent. You must protect it, guard it, until the time comes." John's heart tightened. Him? A single man? Guarding something this powerful? He wanted to laugh, to refuse, but when he looked at the girls, their small hands, their innocent trust, he knew he could not. He had already chosen this path when he stood against the beast. He nodded once. "I'll keep it safe." The mother's eyes softened. For the first time, she smiled, not a warm human smile, but a gesture of light spreading across her features, radiant and strong. She bowed her head slightly, the same rare gesture she had given before. Her daughters tugged at John's arms, pulling him toward her. They spoke quickly, their voices bright. The girl translated again. "They want you to come with us. To our world." John froze. For a moment, the air itself seemed to stop. His eyes lifted to the vast window, where galaxies spun in eternal silence. To travel with them meant leaving Earth behind, leaving everything he had ever known. The idea pulled at him. Wonder, curiosity, the chance to see stars not from below, but up close. To walk on alien ground, to learn things no human had ever known. But then he thought of his world, his people. The small things he had always overlooked, the smell of rain on soil, the warmth of a campfire, the voices of his neighbors, even the lonely walks home through dark forests. And he thought of the crystal in his hand. A promise not for him alone, but for his entire kind. His chest tightened. He looked at the girls, then at their mother. His voice was quiet but steady. "No, my place is here, on Earth." The girls' smiles faded at first, but when they looked deeper into his eyes, they understood. Their glow dimmed with sadness, but then returned, softer, accepting. The mother nodded slowly. She raised her hand, and the ship responded with a hum, as if recognizing his choice. The light surrounded him again. The chamber blurred. His body lifted, carried backward by the same beam that had brought him here. The girls cried out, rushing to the edge of the light. They pressed their hands against the invisible barrier, their glowing eyes filled with emotion. The older one shouted something, her voice breaking. John raised his hand in return, his voice strong, though his throat ached. "You'll be safe now." And then the light carried him down. The forest appeared beneath his feet once more. He landed gently in the clearing, the ship's beam fading around him. He looked up. The colossal vessel hovered for a moment longer. Its lights flared, brighter than the sun, painting the trees in silver fire. The air trembled with power. Then, slowly, the ship rose higher, climbing into the sky. The sound grew distant, the light fading as it pierced the clouds. John stood alone, watching until it vanished into the stars. The forest grew quiet again. Only the soft rustle of leaves remained. He looked at the crystal in his hand. Its glow pulsed faintly, steady, like a heartbeat. A reminder of what had happened, a reminder of what could come. He slipped it into his pocket, close to his chest. The weight felt heavier than stone, yet it also felt right. John took a deep breath. He was tired, bloodied, and alone. And yet, he felt something he had never felt before. Not power, not pride. Purpose. The nights. Danger was over, but his journey had only just begun. Somewhere out among the stars he had made allies. Somewhere, a mother and her daughters remembered him. And someday when humanity was ready, the crystal would open a path to a future beyond imagination. Until then, John would wait, guard, and remember. In the quiet forest, under the endless sky, one fragile human carried a secret that could change the fate of his world. Years passed. The forest where John once stood was no longer the same. The cave had collapsed, the clearing had grown over with wild plants, and the path he had once walked was hidden under thick grass. Yet, to John, that place never faded. It lived inside his memory, sharper than any scar. He had returned to his life, but it was never the same life. Work felt smaller, people felt distracted. While others spoke of weather, money, and routine, John carried a secret in his pocket, a glowing crystal that pulsed like a silent heart. At night he often sat, alone, holding it in his palm, watching its faint light flicker. It never changed. It never spoke. But he knew it was waiting. He had promised to guard it, and he had kept that promise. One stormy evening, John walked along the edge of the forest again. Rain lashed down, soaking the earth, thunder shaking the sky. He clutched his coat tighter around him, the crystal pressing against his chest through the fabric. Then, for the first time in years, it changed. A sudden warmth spread through his body, so sharp it made him stop. He pulled the crystal out and his breath caught. It glowed brighter than ever before, no longer faint but blazing, filling the storm with silver fire. The light pulsed faster, stronger, like it was alive. John's heart raced. He lifted it higher, and the storm seemed to pause. The thunder rolled away, the rain softened, and the air grew heavy, buzzing with energy. The crystal cracked. Not broken, opening. Light spilled out, forming shapes in the air. At first they were blurs, moving like smoke. Then they sharpened into images. Stars, worlds, ships, a galaxy spinning endlessly. John stumbled back, shielding his eyes as the crystal poured visions into the storm. He saw cities floating in the sky, towers of light reaching into clouds. He saw machines bending rivers into glass. He saw suns rising over alien landscapes where silver trees stretched taller than mountains. Then he saw something else. War. Ships clashing in the dark, weapons tearing stars apart, armies marching, shadows devouring worlds. A darkness spreading across the galaxy faster than light, stronger than fire. John's chest tightened. The visions burned into him, filling his mind with fear and wonder both. And then, through the storm, a voice spoke, not in words, but in thought. It begins. John dropped to his knees, clutching the crystal. His mind was dizzy, his breath sharp. The light dimmed slightly, but did not fade. It floated above his hand now, weightless, pulsing, in rhythm with his own heartbeat. He realized what it was, not just a gift, not just a promise, a warning. The galaxy was not at peace. The mother's people were not safe. The children he had saved were not free from danger. And somehow, impossibly, humanity was now part of this story. The storm broke apart suddenly. Clouds split, stars shining through. For a moment, John thought he saw something beyond the clouds, an outline vast and silent. A ship. But when he blinked, it was gone. The crystal dimmed again, returning to its faint glow. But it was no longer silent. Now it hummed gently in his hand, like a song waiting to be sung. John stood slowly. His heart was heavy, but his eyes were steady. He understood now. The mother had not given him treasure. She had given him responsibility. She had trusted him to carry this key, to hold it until his people were ready. And now, the time was close. The next day, John tried to live, normally again. He sat in a cafe listening to people laugh, argue, and dream about their small lives. but his mind was elsewhere. He touched the crystal in his pocket, and its warmth spread through him. He knew what it meant. The galaxy was moving, and soon, Earth would not be able to hide. His eyes lifted to the sky through the window. Blue, calm, ordinary for everyone else. But for him, it was no longer ordinary. It was a veil, hiding countless worlds, countless dangers, countless hopes. He whispered under his breath. Words only the crystal seemed to hear. I'm ready. That night, as he slept, the crystal pulsed again. In his dreams, the girls appeared. Older, now taller, their glow brighter. They smiled at him, their voices soft but clear. You will see us again, they said. When the stars call, we will come. John woke with a start, the crystal glowing beside his bed. His heart pounded. Not with fear, but with purpose. The future was coming, and he would meet it.